there, and it didn't have to let anybody in.
That's good.
That's kind of good.
Not good, they're coughing.
But if you're coughing out in the bridge, you might want to mute your phone, please.
That last minute's like when legislation. Yes.
I used to have a teacher in high school, and back in the clock, it said, time passes, will you?
I know, I was like, I was, so Steve decided to go.
All right, you have 10 o'clock. Jason, if you want to do our invocation, that would be appreciated.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you that we are a nation under God, and we are a country that's written in our documents that we are endowed by our Creator, you, God, to pursue liberties and freedom. So we just want to come first and say we're thankful. We don't take those things for granted. You've blessed this country. You've blessed, our community. Financially, we've had prosperity. We've had just times of peace. So we just want to say thank you for all that. Acknowledge that it's your hand, that all good things come from you. We pray this morning for wisdom for our leaders. We're thankful for them. We ask that you bless them. We ask that the decisions here that we've made, God, would be full of just good wisdom and knowledge that would bless not only our community now, but in generations to come. And again, we just acknowledge that good, healthy thinking, long-term fear, big things, big picture, that your wisdom, your knowledge brings a blessing to all people. So we just ask that would happen this morning. And again, we're thankful for our leaders and ask that you bless them. It's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, I will call our meeting to order at 10:01 a.m. Can I have a roll call, please?
Clifton.
Here.
Fitch. Here. Stanzel. Here.
All present. We have an amendment to the minutes from January 9th, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Heather, you gave those amendments already?
Right, just there are a couple corrections regarding the board member reports. I advised that the Madison County Multipurpose Center manager had left. It was not the Matura director that left, and I learned it personally rather than at a meeting. Now there was a typo correction on, it should be evaluate instead of evaluation. And when we reference a presentation of utilizing a third-party contract, we should make sure it says the board and not Supervisor Clifton, and then county assets instead of courthouse assets. And that is the January 9th minutes. And then I neglected to mention at our study session on the January 16th minutes, everything looks good except I had requested our board clerk to put a statement in there regarding the execution of the maintenance bond. I requested that she put that I thought the south portico top step should not be excluded due to the significant crack. And I shared the county attorney's concern about third-party evaluating the coverage amount. And it's just a statement I requested to be added to the minutes.
All right.
So, other than that.
Can I have a motion to make those amendments to the minutes? Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. All in favor of amending the minutes as stated indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Then can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda including the amended minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item is public hearing for the budget amendments for FY24. Can I have a motion to go into the public hearing? Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Shelley, everything was published as required?
It was, yes.
Did you receive any written comment?
None.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm amending the budget for the ambulance department by $44,100. Part of that is for the HRSA refund that we keep getting letters on. I did go ahead and add that in there. If it comes out that we don't have to pay that, that's okay, it'll just sit there in the general fund. I also had to include the GEMT NCO payments. That's the payments that we pay upfront, and then we end up getting that plus some back, but we need to come in to be able to expend those. So, non-departmental budget, I'm amending $14,065 in expenses for opioid settlement expenses. That just allows us, if we, if you guys decide where you're gonna spend those funds, it allows us the freedom to be able to do so. Conservation, I am increasing their expendable trust expenses by $22,500. The auditor's office, I'm increasing their expenses by $40,649. Part of that is cybersecurity grant expenses, and then election computers.
Shelley had a question on that. If the grant is 10,000 and computers are 20,000, what's the remaining amount for?
So, there's a credit down at the bottom, for, down in the next section for $33,149. So the only expense that's actually being added is the, House File 718. I'm offsetting. I just gotta move money around.
Oh, okay, because
Yeah.
you said election computers, so I
Yeah.
didn't know what the other $10,000 amount
Yeah.
was.
So election computers are $30,000.
Oh, they're 30,000, I thought they were 20.
No, 20 with, I mean, you got the $10,000 for the grant. And
Oh,
then,
I see.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
So really, I'm only amending my budget, overall by the cost of the House File 718 mailing that I'm required to do, because I have two different, funds of money, so I have to increase one fund and decrease another, so you'll see that credit down below.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, the Board of Supervisors, I'm increasing your expenses by $15,025. That was comprehensive plan expenses that we had taken out of the budget because we thought we were gonna be done with that last fiscal year. So, but we are still paying on that, so I had to increase for expenses on that. And then there was a dues increase. And then the auditor's office, I'm reducing, service area 9 by $33,149. That is for, I'm reducing salary lines since I'm down an employee right now. So I'm taking from there to be able to go ahead and buy the election computers this fiscal year to kind of help with the fund balances for next year. Building and grounds, increasing by $13,245. That's just based on utility cost increases, vehicle repair, and supply increases. IT, increasing by $28,000. The Microsoft license expenses have gone up quite a bit, so we're gonna increase that. Local option sales tax, I'm just giving this ability to spend down some of that, so I added $80,000 in expenditures for that. Chip will start paying courthouse maintenance and repair for the rest of the fiscal year out of the local option and sales tax fund. Audit dues, I'm increasing their expenses by $36,673. That was, we had a huge increase in the cost for the FY22 audit based on delays in getting information that they needed. And then the CCOG dues increase, it went up quite a bit, so we needed to amend for that. Risk management, yeah.
For the SICOG, Diane, it said it wasn't 15,000, it was, what was it?
15,000 would have been the previous, but next, this
Yeah,
newest
we're
one is
amending for this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
The 13,000 is for
Oh, I
July
see.
1.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, all right.
And we did get that bill, but we're gonna sit on it till you guys make a decision on that. And then risk management, I'm increasing by $12,963, work comp premium increase. And then non-departmental for service area 9, $58,717, that's for litigation costs.
Do we get reimbursed from ICAP on that?
Only a certain amount, is it 20 or 25, I think was all they were gonna reimburse for the conservation?
I'm not sure how much.
Okay.
Yeah,
It was
let's
very
check.
minimal compared to expenses.
So, I guess I'll need explanation why would not some expenses be covered?
I don't know, I'd have to look at exactly what's in the claim and stuff to see,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
look into that?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
this-
absolutely.
we
Yeah,
can
I
look
think
into
it,
that.
I think the way the policy was written, it only covered $20,000 or $25,000 of this, so,
It's capped.
yeah.
Covers
I
the limit.
don't remember if I have an email or where that came from.
Is that
but-
just for conservation, or is that for everything?
I assume that's for everything,
It's only
but
a
yeah, I'll
percent.
still look in the policy,
Okay, okay,
but it's well over that.
okay.
Additional conservation revenue, so the ICAP reimbursements for the tornado damage came in after July 1, so I'm just increasing the revenue to account for those. And then additional departmental revenue of $414,065, that's just TIF revenue. When we approved the budget, we had $500,000 in revenue in our TIF fund, and it's actually about 900 and some. It's not a levy or not a fund that we levy for, so just doing some cleanup there. And then opioid settlement revenue also goes in a separate fund. So overall, we're increasing for revenues, $454,633. And we're decreasing fund balances for expenses, $332,788. So it's a final fund balance increase of $121,845.
I do have a quick question, if you can clarify for me. The local option sales tax, the increase of 80,000, is that just because we're moving 80,000 from one fund and putting it in that fund?
So, no, so we have already spent what was budgeted for building maintenance and repair line for the courthouse for this fiscal year.
Okay.
So now we need to, if he's gonna continue to pay expenses, we need to either increase the general fund or start paying out of lost.
Okay.
So that's just giving us the ability to be able to pay those out of
Okay,
lost, yeah,
got it.
So
yeah.
you're just paying it out of a different pot of money?
Yes, because we've spent everything we budgeted for the general fund, so it was either increase the general fund and keep lowering that fund balance, or let's spend down some of our lost.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Shelley. Anybody wish to comment on the budget hearing? If not, can I have a motion to agenda budget hearing? Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Hearing is adjourned at 10:11 a.m. Next, can I have a motion to enter into a hearing for a minor subdivision to be known as the Frame subdivision? Is there a motion to enter into hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Diane, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, we are in public hearing at 10:12 a.m. Brian, everything's been published as required?
Yes.
Have you received any written comment, other than
Other
indicating your
than-
field report, which was from conservation?
Yep, other than the conservation, I have not.
All right, very good, go ahead.
All right, so we've got a 3-lot subdivision to be known as Frame subdivision. Applicants are Stephen and Sandra Jo Frame. They are the property owners right now. Consists of 3 parcels totaling 19.55 acres. This final plat is not approved until the Board of Supervisors approval. Current legal use, current parcel contains a 2-story farmhouse that was constructed in 1856. And there's also a detached garage that was built in 1978, in which shall be removed to be in compliance with setback requirements once the current occupant is no longer residing at this residence. Land use other than the residential area, there's a little bit of pasture there, and then some land and row crop production. Stephen and Sandra purchased 48.34 acres from Michael and Carol O'Brien on contract on June 14th, 2017 for $280,091. $280,091. The contract was fulfilled and a warranty deed was filed on May 18th of 23. Stephen and Sandra also own an additional 126.13 acres to the north of this subdivision plat. It was previously owned by Billy and Sheila Allgreen. None of this land that was part of the Allgreen farm will be in the subdivision plat and will remain in row crop production. Some key summary here, key issues. No
portion of the frame subdivision is found to be within the FEMA flood zone area. Staff has determined the CSR2 rating of the platted area to be 48.89, which is below the 70 CSR2 rating called out by our current comprehensive plan. The plat is not within 2 miles of any corporate boundary, therefore no incorporated city review is required. And access from Juniper Trail has been approved by the county engineer's office for new driveways to serve lots 2 and 3. Driveway for lot 1 is existing and will be served by an access easement across a field drive owned by Stephen and Sandra. This is used to access the land behind, which is agricultural row crop. And then I've attached you guys had a chance to read the conservation's input.
Yep, Steve, thanks for doing that. Appreciate it.
So that's really all I have for my report.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Does anyone here wish to comment on this matter? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second by Diane? All in favor of adjourning indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is adjourned at 10:15 a.m. All right, thank you, Ryan. Next item on our agenda is general public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment at this time? Michelle, please raise your hand. Anyone on the phone?
You don't have to be on the agenda, so this would be your time to talk. If you have any comments?
Seeing none, we'll move on. The first presentation, they've asked to reschedule. Next one is Dana Peterson with ISG Facilities. Dana, thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me. I have a couple of handouts here. I'm going to give you some copies if that's okay. For each of you. And then here's some example documents too that we can maybe look at a little bit today. I do have to take these big books back with me, but if we want to share electronic copies later, we can do that too. Okay, well, my name is Dana Peterson. I am an architect with ISG. And just briefly about ISG, we are a multidisciplinary firm that does architecture and engineering. We do have a team of facility that focuses on facility assessments that support us and do these types of plans that you see in front of you. Heather asked me today to just come briefly and give you a 10-minute, discussion about what we see in a facility assessment, what the process looks like, what we see as the benefits, and how that might be something that would help you guys. So the handout that I have in giving you the smaller booklet does have a couple pages on process. We usually start, and the examples that are in front of you are, one is a county example, one is a city of Spencer example. They tend to be multiple buildings, and we would come for a day or two. We would bring a team of engineers and architects and our facility assessment lead, and spend a day or two walking through the buildings, reviewing. Really, it's up to you specifically like what you want to include. So there is a range of options here when it comes to that, but we generally recommend a very holistic approach. We see that as the most successful for long-term planning. So we're looking at the building envelope, whether it's thermal imaging or issues that you might be having there with moisture, roof issues that might be going on. We look at structural, mechanical systems, what is the lifespan of what you have existing, can parts still be ordered? I mean, just things like that you have to take into consideration when you're evaluating how you're maintaining your facilities in the long term. We also look at life safety issues. So, if you do anticipate a project in your future, kind of knowing ahead of time what might have to be updated from a life safety standpoint, or accessibility issues. So there's definitely a range of things that we take into consideration. If you're interested in security review, we can talk through that kind of stuff as well. But the reports and the examples that you have in front of you, we really did go building by building and bring our team and evaluate all of those things and document those things. It is, I think, important to note that it's not just collecting the data and documenting the data. The next steps are our team and reviewing that information, but also working with the community on action plans. What are the costs, what's immediate needs, what's broken and needs fixed in the next year versus what is, a finished issue, maybe, you guys know that long-term your car is going to be replaced. Like there's very different spectrums of timing and costs associated with all of those. So once we've collected as much information as possible, we work with each community on, all right, let's come up with some planning and action and cost estimates that can go along with this to help you know what's ahead and make decisions for each of your facilities long-term with kind of the big picture in mind. Another thing that we see frequently going hand in hand with this process is some level of space planning exercise. So depending on how you see the future use of some of these buildings, it might determine or help you make decisions for long-term investment of those facilities. So, for example, if we're working on a courthouse building or an office building, just understanding how are you using the space, how are your departments growing, that might impact some decisions. It's not usually in the weeds of, full layouts and details, but at least having an understanding of what those buildings can be reconfigured into potentially, or, whether or not it's worth the investments that you might have to decide about making. Overall process, we see these take about 2 months from start to finish, depending on, that sort of upfront is usually relatively quick, but then there's the assessing the information, working back and forth with staff on the approach and deliverables and long-term decisions and making sure it meets what you guys can do. So that's why it usually takes about 2 months. I already talked a little bit about the importance of actionable plans. We have a prioritization chart that we use to talk through that. So highlighting like what's most important, what's immediate, what's long-term, things like that. So that's all part of the process. I think the last thing I would just say and then open it up to questions is ultimately what we see as the benefit and have had a lot of experience with communities is just making wise decisions with your financing and funds available and knowing ahead of time what might be coming down the road and being able to plan that out long term. Is there any questions or anything specific?
I certainly see the merit in it, because a lot of times we manage by, oh crap, something broke.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's unique to Madison County. That said, budgets are tight, so it's kind of hard to say, okay, we need to spend $250,000 next year to do this. Like, how are we gonna do that? But, so I certainly see the merit in it. What would a study like this typically cost?
There is a range, because we've done them for, like the examples I brought, one was only 5 buildings, one was 11 buildings. So obviously it's gonna depend dramatically on that, and then the level of space planning, or level of detail you wanna get into in the study. We've seen them as low as $20,000. We've seen them as high as $40,000 or $50,000. It really can vary quite a bit. I know Heather said in the next steps, you guys are considering going out to an RFP process. My recommendation is just making it as clear as possible what you would like to include in that scope so that you're comparing numbers from companies equally, because you see a variety of deliverables that can come out of that.
So how granular do you get? Like you had mentioned carpet, but that's usually not our concern.
Yes.
When we do planning like this, it's usually our boilers going out, we need to spend $100,000 to buy a new boiler. I mean, those kind of big ticket items are things that usually come before us to his point, oh crap, we got it. So how granular do you get down and dirty on something like this?
So it will be, and you can see in those examples, there's a reason they're 200 pages long. It will be system by system and specific to, major equipment. So specific boilers will be identified. We will look at electrical panels specifically. If there is any indication of water damage in, you know, a corner of a building versus the whole building, or we work with any maintenance records or facilities team that you guys might have to, you know, figure out what the known issues are immediately. So very specific. We document photos of each condition and exactly what we're seeing. The thing that it's not destructive. I think that there's a difference that, you know, we're not gonna be looking inside of walls and things like that. So for, I think, mostly obvious reasons, there's a reason to look above the ceiling specifically. We will certainly start to look above the ceiling, but we're not gonna lift every tile unless we see a reason to lift.
So you
know,
do
that
structural
area.
issues?
That is correct, yes ma'am. We have structural engineers on our team and we will review the structural issues as well.
Do you also review safety? Like if you can evaluate, okay, the way this is set up is not safe, we recommend a change to this.
Yes, from both code perspective, so fire, life safety is one aspect, and then more also commonly nowadays from a security standpoint. We can review and evaluate security needs. We've worked with communities specifically on security upgrades in, you know, recent years, so.
Do you also take into consideration historical buildings? Because some historical buildings are usually exempt from a lot of the rules because they're historical.
Yes, and I mean, ultimately, even from a building code standpoint, when you have an existing building, until you start making changes, until you make changes of a certain extent, does the code actually say that you're required to make upgrades? So it definitely has a ripple effect depending on how much you anticipate making a change to a facility, and we would take all of that into consideration.
Tell me a little bit more about space planning. Is that just making us be more efficient in our space? Recommend, say, you have this size office and you only have one person here, but you have this size office and you have four, you know, flip-flop for more efficient use of space. Is that what you do, or can you explain that?
I like to start with the bigger picture discussion and not just like, here's what you have and what you're working within, but talking more about how do you see your department growing, what is the long-term needs of the community, and then taking that and comparing it to what you have and what you're working within. And then, of course, you have to balance it with, we're not just gonna tear out a wall to make an office, you know, 2 feet bigger. That's not a responsible decision. So how can we work within that footprint as best possible, but keeping that bigger picture need in mind?
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I can
Thank
certainly
you.
see how we can benefit from it. We're in the midst of budgeting right now, so
Yeah.
I'm sure we will revisit the subject in the next few weeks.
Unless someone has any other
All
questions.
right, great. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Now we're in the resolution portion of our meeting. Our first resolution is an IT resolution to approve Angie Day for a VPN access. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed?
Mike, to do that, I'm still not sure. You didn't get me
You might be surprised, I know.
Introduce myself, Mike Hackett. I'm very interested in what you talked about there. You've done what I would call smaller county size, as you look at their secondary building, what that type of stuff too.
So the examples that I brought, Clay County was one of them.
Okay.
And it was,
Because I know that there's never enough, that's the problem.
yes. It was still primarily like the administration building, general services, so a little bit more of the bigger structures. We have done a lot of county maintenance and city public works facilities. And we do facility assessments, one building, like we've had some people who have said, we just have this one terrible building, come look at it. So we do a wide range, yes.
I'm just curious.
So being it's been so long since anybody's ever put this all under one umbrella,
Yeah.
So,
if it were me sitting there, I would say every kind of building,
Yeah.
right?
well, I know,
That's what I would do.
I was here when we built the facility that we're in now, it's 32 years old. It's basically a pre-engineered metal
Okay.
facility.
Yeah.
But they kinda gotta have
All the
that
doors are
conversation.
original, everything's still there, it
Because
just needs
otherwise,
to be
They'll that in the
intensely
past.
upgraded, I already know that, but it's just,
Mitch has been signing
That's
those,
a
but I
large
don't think that's
Yeah.
correct.
But she puts weight behind
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
need, right? Instead
Exactly.
of you just out there, hey, I hand them
you know,
out.
it's an,
You've got some weight
yeah,
behind
it's
it.
very interesting,
Yeah.
that's totally up to them what they do.
That's what.
I think,
I'd be
In the
interested
business we
in
had,
having an assessment in our facilities too, at least to start it.
They
good
should.
idea.
I mean, I
Great
already know
idea.
I've got broken
No,
windows, I mean,
Right.
it's just,
Great idea.
We had these two
most of
cardboard
our,
boxes floating around there.
most secondary road departments spend most of their money on the road system, not necessarily their
So I've been using
infrastructure.
those for Christmas
Yeah.
presents.
I
Anyway.
mean, we have, like recently, we worked with the city of Carlisle on multiple projects,
The
multiple
one year we
assessments,
have,
and
we have white
of course, City Hall at first, police, next to the library, but they're public works facilities, like, you know, wood pole barn,
Yeah.
don't fall down.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And they're like, we really need to do this one, but public perception is so hard to like really see the whole thing.
You know, it's almost,
That's Mike,
I
that's
almost say
awesome.
I'm almost embarrassed, but it's just, there's not
And
enough.
this year, my future son-in-law got it for Christmas presents.
But it does help document it all,
Yeah.
get a plan in
I think if you
place.
do this, she's
Yeah.
gonna put the fear of God in this county, because it's gonna be,
Yeah,
a big number.
Well,
yeah,
And another question, if you don't mind.
yeah, of course,
They were talking about safety,
yeah.
right? And I'm a
Bill, you need to sign on.
industrial
Don't sign the
guy.
change order.
Yeah.
I'm out
You
of
sign that one.
industrial
Only
facilities.
because,
OSHA,
yeah, that's
OSHA,
approved by
OSHA.
us.
Yeah.
Is that
He
some of the
was
detail, when
submitted
you're looking
by-
at
it
safety,
wasn't
are you
submitted by
saying
him.
you're meeting these OSHA requirements?
I'm gonna give this one.
Or is that something you carve out?
We would,
You see
we
what
do
I'm
some
saying?
of it, because some of it
'Cause that's
overlaps.
huge.
But it's a little bit broader than all
Maybe you need a
the
bigger
specific
stick.
OSHA requirements, because I know there's a lot of really detailed ones, like you said, in some of those public,
Was this?
Your handrails,
production
this high,
type.
this round, this
Handrails,
broad.
that's
this-
that's
you know,
us, yep,
I mean, that's just
exactly.
one example.
Ladder requirements for maintenance access.
Where are you storing them, that kind of
Exactly,
thing.
yep.
So you
nice to
don't,
meet you.
We do overlap,
Nice
it's
to meet you, thank you for your
too.
presentation.
Yes.
Yep. No, I gotta get
I'll
going.
shut
No,
up.
I gotta get going, thank you.
I think to me, it's almost a no-brainer. The drawback is you wanna know.
Yeah.
Right,
Seriously,
yeah, no, I understand completely, for sure,
because once you know, you don't fix
yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, it was nice to meet
it. You
you.
too.
Thank you all for your time today, it was nice to
Thank
meet
you very much.
Be careful when you drive
Yes.
and walk.
Yeah,
Where'd
I
you
think
go?
walking is almost as tough as, yeah, worse than
Worse.
the driving right now.
Supposed to do that. What's that now?
Cool.
That's a beta, yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the CL and the G. That's perfect, yep. I would cut that.
Here, Phil, here's another one.
What's going on, dude? I wasn't standing behind you.
Here's another one you need.
Is that the work agreement?
Called DB Cell.
Okay, let's keep that, that goes there, that goes there, there, Phil.
Huge,
Well,
since you're being critical.
She golly willikers.
I'm not being critical, I'm just saving your behind. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't stand up and walk away yet, because I gotta look at them all.
Haven't quite packed up yet.
Yeah, I asked Ann, I said, so she comes into the office over there, and I said, well, you're kind of in the wrong place, and she said.
Well, good thing you were still there when she came.
I know, right, right? Well, then she rattled me, and I, of course, left my,
Well, once we get batteries in, right, that new recorder works just fine, I think.
good, yay. Well, I'm gonna get an SD card in there, because I think that's gonna be critical for getting it on.
It has an internal thumb drive, you know that?
That one does?
Yeah, it's got a thing you slide out, it's got a thumb drive on it.
Mine does,
Well, that
but I
one
mean,
does.
that one does too.
There's a thing on the back, there's a little slide, you slide it, and the
Nice.
thumb drive comes out.
Well, that'll make it easy, I didn't
Plug
see
right
that
into your
earlier.
computer.
It's right here on the side. Yep.
good news, okay. I didn't see that earlier.
You might want to bring batteries over too.
Yeah, I'm gonna restock everything. I'm gonna turn off the microphone as well, because those were all dead.
Well, that's because we always forget to leave them on.
No, we should get a rechargeable battery.
All right.
Oh,
Well, that's what I got over there in,
Oh, okay.
I borrowed them from, Tina.
We had rechargeable batteries when the kids were little on all their toys and gadgets. They don't. They did.
But now I hope everybody knows if I take these out and give them back,
We even had a charger. that-
you're not gonna have them.
They have one of those two.
Yeah, and when you have all that kid stuff, it didn't work at all.
All right, have a good rest of the day, everybody.
Thank
Probably
you.
won't see you, so you
Might
have
not.
fun. Have fun, you're kind of leaving Thursday or
Thursday,
have fun.
it's like cloudies and 80s, and then it turns to sunny and 60s, so it'll all feel pretty good. It's supposed to be, by the time we get back, it's supposed to be 40s here.
Well, you need to tell your golf clubs they're in good shape because they cost more than you.
Well, it costs a ton more than me. It's like, can I buy another ticket and put my stuff in that seat?
That's so
It's
funny.
ridiculous.
Costs you more to take your
It
golf
costs me
clubs
more to
in.
take my stuff than to take my butt.
And you know, and they'll feed you nothing.
Oh, and I might get a bag of pretzels.
Maybe.
Thank you for your help today. This is fabulous, and
See you later, Heather.
You too.
hello.
Be careful going to, I'd probably go online to make sure.
Thanks, Phil.
I'm thinking about it.
Depends how I see it, I don't know.
Oh, I meant to tell Phil, I drive like
Hey,
crazy
T.
with those Arizona plates on there.
Listen, they didn't call it little today.
They probably think, oh no,
No,
I've
it's
never
serious,
seen
yeah.
snow.
All right, we'll shut that off.
So you should have it.
Why don't it have to be moved to me?
What is?
The 2022 union contract.
I saw that. I didn't see the read through
I
it.
had asked.
Garage. Nope, nothing, zero scripts. I'm telling you.
So they lose their garage.
Well, it's either they can move it or build another one.
This, well, I will work to it.
You have this big
It's on my
one here.
boss.
One of
You have
them.
this big
I know,
one here.
I know that.
No, they're
Okay,
required.
and do you need to obey them for the, for your new audit?
No, I would like that first.
Sure. Thought I had it,
I'd like that, I might have buried that.
well, that's okay, I mean, I just kind of jotted down again. I was told, oh, doesn't give her a number, well, that's just the way I thought. Unless I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna work it. This pin doesn't.
Oh.
It's,
I did, I put the old passcode in.
okay, well, that one's the new one, and that'd be great. See how much I trust you? Should we? Come on, let's do this.
Or just get a little
Okay.
And I have hard copies.
Are they bad? Okay.
Just housekeeping stuff.
Got it. No, I think.
Look at the folder on.
I'm asking to make sure I do about the descent on that one, but I haven't.
No, that's one of the things I've written.
Oh, okay.
But I have it written out for you
Okay.
to wordsmith.
Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome to the audio conferencing center. Please enter conference ID followed by pound.
When you're scheduling stuff, it like trickles down.
If you're the meeting organizer, press star now. Please enter your PIN and then press pound. You are joining the meeting as the organizer.
Michelle, please.
Participants are waiting in the lobby. To admit all participants in the lobby, press star 2-1. No one in the lobby.
All right. Started waking.
Feel a little unimportant, don't you?
Okay, that's absolutely fine. All right, we're gonna start our study session. Start by going through our agenda. Michelle, one thing I noticed, I didn't catch it when you first sent the minutes to me, but I did catch it yesterday, was that the maturity director didn't leave, it was the
That was
multi-purpose
gonna be
center
one of my,
director.
yeah. So, just say, it's on the January 9th, minutes, it says Stansel, just put Stansel advised that the Madison County Multi-Purpose Center Manager for Matura left. I have it written out.
Thank you.
You can do that.
I'll just
I
put
didn't catch
change
that
of
the
the
first time.
January
It
9
reads
minutes.
a little different.
Yeah.
No
And then,
worries.
since we're on January 9th, can I just continue on that one? So, just a typo correction, not, instead of evaluation, use evaluate, on the last sentence of the first paragraph. And then on the third paragraph, the board indicated that they would be open to a presentation, because we made the decision as a board. And then evaluate county assets, not just courthouse assets. Because Diane, you had said the courthouse has been evaluated for 5-year plans in our last event meeting, do you recall that? When we had said that it was a good idea to have, perhaps look at a presentation for a third party to come in and evaluate assets, we had made a statement, well, we've already done that for the courthouse, it already, we just look at others. So she had put courthouse assets, and I was
Alright.
correcting it with county assets.
Perfect.
So that's the only thing for January, right?
All right, well, when we get to that, we will ask for the minutes. Before we approve
Oh,
that.
then I'll hang on to it so I remember what.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, we've got a budget hearing, and we've got a subdivision hearing. Shelley, are you on? Guessing not, since no one was in the waiting room. Ryan, do you share anything with us about the subdivision hearing before we get to there, or? It's
There's not a lot to it, I
looking
guess.
pretty basic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question on that. They had said on the requirements that the house was gonna be either removed or moved
I just
in order to
house?
accommodate the
I think it did say how,
setback.
that's what
It did say
A
house.
detached garage built 1978 that shall be moved or removed to be in
Oh, the
compliance.
garage.
I
Yeah.
read it as house too.
I read it as house for some reason.
Yeah, there's, so the original owner of that platted area, she still lives there. He purchased it from them on contract and just paid it off. But she still lives there and utilizes the garage. It didn't seem real feasible to have her tear
They're
down
just
the
gonna
garage.
honor it until she no longer needs to live
Correct.
there. Okay.
Yep.
Is there a reason why we just can't grandfather in that garage?
Well,
It's too
we're, yeah, there's a setback requirement.
cool. Right.
And they're making proposed changes to the lot sizes.
Oh, okay, so then they
So
have to
yeah,
accommodate.
right.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, if they weren't, we wouldn't just go in there and say, hey.
If there was no subdivision plat, there wouldn't be anything we could do about that garage.
Okay, okay.
Are these three separate driveways?
Yes.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, they went through the proper, got the current application filled out, they do meet site distance.
And this is one thing we're gonna talk about when we redo the ordinances.
Yeah, this is a bigger discussion on those type of questions, on how many per,
And these are generally larger lots, so
Yeah.
they could have put more in
they
there.
could put more in there.
So that's why I don't have as much heartburn, Diane, is because they're larger lots. If they were we were doing multiple 3 acres, that would have been problematic.
Yeah, right now, we currently don't have a good mechanism in our current ordinances to limit the amount of driveways except for safety and drainage.
Okay.
That-
But that is on the list to
Yep.
address.
Yeah, and you know, on something like this, if they put their own frontage road in or something like that, that makes, you know, and that, I get it, it's complicated.
It's
Then you get the
complicated.
shared drive
Yeah.
deal with and whatnot, but that's not really on us.
No, it's not. And then, you know, it's a balance of also with the driveways is some of the agricultural people, you know, to be able to get to their, they don't want, when we go through this process, we want to make sure that, you know, they also have a chance to be able to get to the ground.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah,
it's.
whatever you do,
it's
you don't
gonna-
wanna make it burdensome on
Yes,
agriculture.
it'll be a good discussion.
Okay.
All right. Anything else that you wanna cover now, or are we still hearing? All right, you said Brenda's not gonna be here, but I assume Joan's gonna be here? They have another presentation for the courthouse?
I haven't heard from Joe, I don't think so. It's too late.
He has to move it out.
Oh, he has to move it?
We're gonna reschedule it.
Okay. And Dana's gonna be here with ISG for presentation on county assets, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we have VPN access for Angie, it's pretty straightforward. We have the budget amendment. Shelley, anything you wanna add about that before the hearing?
Nope.
Okay. Got a change order to receive a credit of $1,052 on the courthouse exterior entry project. Anything on that, Diane?
It was just for the asbestos caulking.
Okay, we have a resolution for payment to Tallgrass Archaeology.
What is that?
It's for the Earlham Historic District.
It's a pass-through. It's just a pass-through.
Oh,
But they
okay,
got-
that's what we approved for that.
Yes.
Oh.
And they have the money and it passes to us, so it's
Okay.
sort of like a turning point.
Okay.
Is that correct, Shelley? It's just a pass-through?
The, sorry, we're starting here, and
The tall grass.
the tall grass, yes,
Yeah.
yep. So basically, we pay it and then we send them a copy of the check and they reimburse us, so we are just a pass-through for it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, got a work agreement with Landers, that's pretty straightforward, I assume, Mike.
Yeah, that's preparing for this summer's work.
First of May. And we've got the final plat approval for the Frame subdivision. Liquor license for Knights of Columbus. Mark Parrish and Tom Collins, I think I was shared during the budget meeting yesterday, I visited with Tom a couple times now about that. And new business, utilizing a third party to help facilitate zoning ordinances. Aaron had mentioned that you worked with a company when you did some city work.
Yeah, they would all use, I don't know where it's printed from, but it's. What?
It's
Oh.
okay.
Yeah, that's
This
okay.
is just some
You
information.
can turn it over.
Get your frustrated.
This is, information from Jennifer at Summary.
Study session.
Yeah, I just thought
But I
I'd give it
appreciate
to
you
you.
doing
It's
it.
So
just-
we can read this between.
Yeah, this is just, in case
I
there's
have
anything,
And I want to make
No,
sure
thanks,
what I have.
thanks for bringing it to our attention, 'cause it's something we were talking about anyway, and if there's
So I
a,
just.
And this is just for,
Yesterday
is
and
this
all
just for the
his
updates
and
of your existing code, or is this to help with
So-
writing the new code?
What I asked her about was reclassification
Yeah.
generally, so normally they'll take all of your ordinances, they'll renumber them, they'll polish them up, they'll make sure they make sense, they'll edit for typos, things like that. And then they will, also update your code sites to the Iowa code, things like that. And, let's see, so you can incorporate any amendments to your ordinances that you've had. I did ask her if we're gonna do a major code update anyway, does it make more sense to get them recodified now so they're all organized for the amendments that we wanna do? Or does it make more sense to wait until after we've done whatever we wanna do with ordinances? Probably waiting, depending on how expensive you think.
So update our ordinances
So
and then
this-
have them come in?
this entity really wouldn't help us rework our ordinances, they would help clean up existing ordinances.
Yeah, yeah, so we might have been talking about different things. This is more like, making sure they are making sense, that they're organized.
Because right now our ordinances are kind of all over the place.
The numbering is
Off.
confusing.
Yeah. So this, the $4,000 to $5,000 is just to take what we have existing, clean it up, make it pretty, easy for the public to find, easy for you to find, easy for you to understand, not write them new like we're talking about as part of our comprehensive.
Correct.
Okay.
That would be more of a consulting.
All right,
So
I
this is
misunderstood
different.
Aaron.
Me
so I-
too.
No, that's okay. Yeah.
So this is to clean up existing ordinance, it has nothing to do with the new ordinances we're writing?
Correct, this is a recodification.
Okay.
They would help and make sure that we incorporate them correctly into our existing ordinances.
Okay.
Would they bring
they
in our
all-
new ones in too then?
Yeah, so depending on how you wanna do it, part of me thinks it might be easier to recodify prior to amending, because then it would be clear where they fit into the new ordinances, but I think you can do it either way. It also makes sense wants to wait.
So does this entity offer that service though?
Are you consulting on the substance of the ordinances? I don't think so.
No.
But I
Alright.
can check around and see if I can find something on that one if you want.
Well, the company that's doing the current comp plan does all of
Okay.
that. And we're kind of starting to go down that path, and then when you mentioned 4,000 to 5,000, I'm like, hey, let's hear about this.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's much better. But now I understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, this would make sense if we weren't
If we weren't going
already
through.
looking
what's-
at going and doing new, but since we are,
I think the way you might wanna do it, since if you're having a consulting firm help you with updating the substance of the ordinances, this would be like, once you're done with that,
well,
then you start the process of getting them to
So
codify.
once we're completed, then they come in and.
Well, and I think
the
they're just,
consultant can do
No,
that
that's what
too.
we're saying.
they're just doing the zoning ordinance, and is this talking about all
This
of
is
our?
all the county.
All your ordinances, okay, so yeah, the good point, the consulting firm is just doing zoning.
Okay.
So they would only help with that, so I'm wondering if the codifying should come first.
I almost think it's
That's
the
what
other,
I heard.
well, I almost think it's the other way around though, because if you redo your zoning, okay, now let's codify it and bring everything in order so that the ATV ordinance falls in here and
Okay,
whatever, it might
I
be general
see.
assistance,
Okay.
whatever.
What you could do is get everything started, it's a long process, it takes 12 to 18 months. So you can start with your ordinances generally, and then maybe you just wanna stick zoning in the last chapter, and then you can get them your zoning ordinance when it's done. and you can just
Oh,
bring
okay,
it.
that's a good idea.
But Bill, to your point, if there are things that you're gonna pull out of zoning because of this, that would make it tricky.
All right, it's a good conversation, and we
Yeah.
had this discussion a little bit yesterday during our budget on what the rewrite might look like, so. We'll throw this back into the budget conversations when we revisit that in a week or two.
They said they usually spread it over 2 fiscal years, 3 payments, whatever you wanna do, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. We'll talk about that further in budget time, and that may be a constraint more so than anything. All right. Well, it's under new business, so we should discuss it under new business, but we need Aaron to stick around for that, or not?
No.
No, you know.
Is there anything else on the agenda that you need?
I don't believe so.
You're not on.
So if you have bigger fish to fry, Aaron, thank you.
Yeah.
I got a couple things on my list.
Okay.
Thanks, Erin.
You've been excused.
All right, anybody have anything else?
I just wanted to correct on the presentations, I just noticed it said evaluate courthouse assets, which is county.
County.
Yeah. Does that mean amendment?
I don't think it's,
No.
she's gonna talk about what she's gonna talk about.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
I have a follow-up in regards to yesterday's conversation about lost, what we could spend.
Yes.
I found the ballot. So approximately 80% goes to property tax relief in the unincorporated area of Madison County. So that goes into the rural fund. 20% shall be expended for any other lawful purpose, including but not limited to renovation, equipment, equipping and repair of the Madison County courthouse.
Any lawful purpose included.
Mhm.
So it states that, but you can use it for any lawful purpose.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
really, you got quite a bit of wiggle room.
Including but not limited to, as long as it falls for the courthouse.
Only the courthouse.
That's the way the wording was, but of course at the time, in 2004, we didn't have the annex, we didn't have, but the ballot language says the courthouse, so we
But you
should
can
stick
spend
with
it on
that.
any other lawful
Any other
purposes.
lawful purpose, including but not limited to.
So you could buy.
It's not limited to.
So
Any lawful purpose, but not limited to.
Yep.
So we can use it for anything.
you could buy an ambulance,
Yeah.
correct?
Well,
I think it sounds like the intent was it was courthouse capital
courthouse,
type.
yeah.
But
It says the language again says including but not limited to the courthouse?
Including but not limited to renovation, equipping, and repair of the Madison County courthouse.
Okay, so it's not limited to the courthouse, but it has to include it. Maybe we need Erin to weigh in on that. We dismissed her too early.
Erin,
Wonder if she's still
She's still out there chatting?
I don't think so.
okay. I can answer.
I think, it sounds to me like the intention is there, but there's some wiggle room.
Yeah, I just, yeah,
Okay. Good to know.
that's what I thought.
Thanks for looking that up.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Anything else? If not, we'll recess until 10 o'clock. Michelle, would you wish me to pause this and restart it?
You can, just, yeah, pause it, please, because it's all on recording.
Colleen Peterson is gonna call in for the, if you have questions on the tall grass thing. So,
Motion carries. Next resolution is approving the amendments to the budget that we had the hearing on earlier this morning. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second? Second by Diane. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is a supervisor resolution recognizing a credit from Bryholz for $1,052. This was for, we had to have some asbestos abated around the doors, and then that company did the caulking, so Bryholz did not have to. So therein lies the credit. Do I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion or anything you want to add, Diane?
Well, it isn't, Bryholz isn't, like, they can't remove it, it has to have a company,
Right.
be a company
So
that
that
is
was
licensed
separate.
to remove it.
Since that
Yes.
company was here, they went ahead and
So it
caulked
had to
it.
come in, yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else?
I thought Bryholz did the caulking, because they said they use the same like.
Oh, you're
caulk as-
right. It's credit for caulking.
It's the
removal.
credit removal.
They were gonna have
It's
to
the
remove it.
removal.
Once it was determined it was asbestos, they could not remove
And
it.
they are not
Okay,
licensed to
because
do it.
originally it was to
Yes.
be removed, but
Right.
because it was asbestos.
We had to
Hire
look out for
somebody.
that, but
Get
then
a
we're getting
company.
credit for them not having to remove it.
Okay, all
All
right.
right, got it. Thanks for the clarification. That being the case, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. Next is a supervisor resolution approving a payment to Tallgrass Archaeology in an amount of $10,312.65 as part of the Earlham Commercial District Intensive Study Project with certification of grant payment. Colleen, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
All right, you want to give us a little
Yes, I
quick and
am.
dirty?
Yep, so we have submitted our report, so just a few of the data points. We have initially been approved the initial recommendation is that we are eligible to go on for nomination to the National Register. The report itself was 582 pages. And the period of significance for that was 1895 to 1969. There were 37 properties that fell within the boundaries of the district. Of those 37, 29 are deemed eligible, and that is not including Bricker Price. So Bricker Price, when included, will be 30 buildings. We had, and to get to all of that, we had over 500 volunteer hours into the project. So we had a tremendous response from Earlham and its citizenry. And so at this point, it's just slightly less than the full 70% of the full contract. It will take about roughly 3 weeks for reimbursement back to you, and then you get to talk to me again. So I can ask for the final remaining 30, I think it's 32% of the payment. It's a total of $15,016. And that should pretty much wrap everything up for this grant round, and then you get to see me again in the fall, because we'll come back. We're going to attempt to go for, of course, the CLG grant for the nomination.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for
Thank you.
everything your group
Thank you.
does. Do we have any questions for
Well,
Colleen?
you're welcome.
All right. If not, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a secondary roads resolution approving a work agreement between Bryson Gentry Landers and Secondary Roads. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Heather, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Any further discussion?
What is this, Mike?
This is another culvert.
A culvert.
Yeah, we're gearing up for the summer, spring, summer.
First of many to come.
Yep.
All right, there's no other discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. And our next resolution is a zoning resolution approving the final plat of Frame subdivision, which we had a hearing on earlier. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, any further discussion?
Brian, since Diane and I both had the same misunderstanding with the staff report that it was just the garage that's being moved, is there any way we can further clarify that on the staff report, just so perpetuity, for
Sure.
future reference, people know that you're recommending just the garage,
Yep.
not the house?
Yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
all right. Other than that, I have no other comment.
If there's nothing else, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have an application for a temporary special Class C retail alcohol license for the Knights of Columbus for an event, I believe it's on February 10th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second? Motion and a second, second by Diane. There's no other discussion, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And I'm sure they would love to have you attend. I think the tickets are $50 a head, so if anyone is so inclined. Okay, next we have citizens' requests to be heard. Hey, Mark Parrish, Tom Collins, and
Alex, right?
and Alex? Good. All right. Whoever wants to speak, please come forward, state your name, and
So I'll go.
let us know what you got going on.
I hate to say this, but I think we're here to talk about death and taxes.
What else would we talk about with you?
Oh, sir, would you mind stating your names?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Tom Collins.
Okay.
Alex Wright.
Mark Parrish. We're all Caldwell Parish Funeral Home. Here in Winterset, Mark, of course, is the principal owner of the business. Basically what we're here to talk about is we seem to be having a little bit of a issue with collecting on payments from families who apply for general assistance through the county. Unfortunately, there are people who do not have the funds to pay for the services that we provide, but in trying to get them to apply for an application, and the application process doesn't seem to be working quite as smoothly as we would like to have it work. So we're here to discuss that just a little bit. I can say that for us, we try to visit with families when they come in, or at the time that we have to make a removal on, basically we can kind of determine whether they're having problems with financial issues or not. And so we try to weed out the ones that we know that can, or maybe a little stubborn to pay, and then there are ones that just don't have the ability to. And so the ones that don't have the ability to, we of course send them over to Matura, kind of follow the guidelines that have been set up here through the county. And we've had about 3 issues that we haven't been paid for. That seems to be an issue in which people will go over to apply for the application, apply for the benefits, and I don't exactly know each individual case on what the problem was, but for some reason, talking to the Mature director, she says that the people have been approved, but for some reason they have to bring some notification or something back to them to get the ball rolling to see that we get funds. And unfortunately, they just kind of walk off with it, without.
Do you know for sure if they just don't return them, or they're missing that third step? What?
We know that they go over and talk, because we talk to the people at Matura, and they said that they come in and then they sit down, and I don't know what goes on in the application process about what they're discussing, what they need. In other words, we don't sit in with them, so we don't know what the tour lady is asking that they need to show, or proof of whatever.
insurance shared with you what they're not procuring? I mean, there might be something that we could eliminate, or,
Well, going through the process, one of the major drawbacks that we can see is, I'm not telling anybody how to run their business by any means, but there are qualifications there that they have to follow through in order to receive the benefits. And they want to make sure that a person doesn't have the income to substantiate, why do we need to use county assistance when you have the income to do it. And they want to make sure the person is eligible to work. And one of the guidelines on the application says you have to have a doctor's permit saying that you're not eligible or not capable of working. And that's one of the guidelines that appear on it.
I've got a couple of thoughts on this, Tom. First of all, we went over our general assistance ordinance fairly extensively 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Since that time, have you guys been able to collect on any of them?
One. We've got about one.
out of how
And
many?
well, there's 3 that you
Just
well,
one
you
out
felt
of
you should have been able to collect on, but haven't
3 within the last 2 years.
in the last 2 years.
That have not collected.
Okay.
There was some prior to that as well. I think it was 2020 when we came first asked
Okay, I knew
for
we
that, so we've only been
were
approved for 1 since 2020.
one since then, 3 and 3 not.
There's 3 since 2020, but I think there have been, I don't know how many, but in 20, or 3 since 2022, but in 2020 and 2021, I know we probably 2 or 3, probably an average of 2 a year maybe.
Okay. My thoughts on how to address it are twofold. One, you could completely redo the ordinance, which is a little bit burdensome.
Yeah.
Or do you allow for an exception of that, where the funeral home can say, well, we did this, we sent them there, and they come forward with a statement, whether they, probably from Matura, since they manage our general assistance, saying, we have this situation, we recommend payment because of X, Y, and Z. Is that an easier way to grant an exception?
Well, there's,
Or
the
change the
ordinance
ordinance.
actually governs, I'm looking at the ordinance now, it actually governs exceptions. So there's only way, so if we want to give an exception, we actually have to change the ordinance. So a poor needy person who has received the maximum assistance is an exception. We can grant exception for that. Poor needy person whose income is excess of the income eligibility, or a poor needy person who is not eligible for a state or federal program of assistance. So they would actually have to come to us to ask for an exception. Otherwise, all the requirements have to be complied with. And then we list the eligibility guidelines, which I think the one you're referring to regarding working, they have to either show income below the poverty lines, or if they're not working, they have to show that they're trying to work.
So Phil, are you maybe proposing that if you would come to us and say, we've exhausted everything, they have absolutely no money, that we could waive this and just say.
That was my thought, but based on what the ordinance reads, we don't have the ability to do that.
So,
We'd have to write it in the ordinance that if they could come as a last resort, come to the supervisor, they would provide proof that, okay, this person, we could even, we could put it in as an exception, but we'd have to add an exception to where Matura certifies that they are not eligible, and you certify based on your own experience, but we'd still have to.
do you reach out to all the churches first, see if the church will pay for it? They're probably not.
No, I don't
Really.
think that, I also don't feel it's a
This
church's
is how it
responsibility.
generally works, is it's,
Yeah, when
it's
we-
county purview.
When we came in 2020, I brought applications from the surrounding counties as well, Dallas, Warren,
Clark, I think.
Dallas, Polk, Warren, but anyways, and their process, their application seems to be much more simple and straightforward and clear than what was come up with. So I don't know if that's a good resource. We brought some up again.
Sure, why don't we?
Why don't you give us those, and it sounds like we certainly need to do some tweaks on them. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but there's a couple tweaks we can make to our general assistance ordinance.
But by no means
are we trying to abuse this or want to
No,
abuse it?
I'm
Because
sure. We know,
all
right.
we're trying to do is just cover our costs on some of those things.
I'm sure the original reason the ordinance is written the way it was is they were trying to prevent abuse of the process, because the funds are very limited
Mhm.
on what's available, and once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, if I remember, it's been a while, I think it was to approve for, or 5 or 7 a year, and as you can see historically going, you know, I know we're not going Madison County funeral home, but I think it's just been, you know, 1 or 2 or.
Actually, Tom had asked me that, and we had a budget meeting yesterday, it's 1,500 a year is what we've been budgeting.
1,500.
Which just sounds like that's probably enough if they were getting paid on a reasonable basis.
I mean, you know, that was 2020 when that, I think at that time we had suggested $1,000 and you guys approved $750. And if you look at Warren, Polk, and Dallas and average those kind of 3 surrounding communities, that would be about $1,250 that paid the 3 of them. So, you know, costs have gone up a lot since then as well, so.
Getting paid $750 beats the heck out of not getting paid anything.
100%.
Are you
Okay.
finding an increase of more people trying to stiff you? That was a horrible
I got that on camera.
I think Tom can speak to that. I think from, you know, back when Tom started, a few years back, you know, you could do a lot more things on handshake and not to worry about it. It's just getting tougher and tougher that people say they're gonna come back and pay. And you try
So
to
the
be.
answer is yes, more people are not.
But you're talking 2 different things here. I mean, you're talking, we're talking direct cremation.
Yep.
You're talking more of a, oh yeah, I can take care of that, so you go through and have a several $1,000 funeral, and then you, here's $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, on both, even on just simple, you know, immediate cremations, you know, yeah, as well, so.
All right.
I guess our goal is just to try, main goal is to try to get that approval process more streamlined and clear, and be able to use that money.
Yep, no, and our purpose isn't to hold you guys hostage or make you provide services for nothing.
And we could copy theirs if you find those much
I think we can,
simpler.
I think we can work to
We can work
tweak that.
we do have a Matura meeting tonight, and what I can do is I can ask their assistants and perhaps helping us rewrite this, because I know they've come, help us rewrite this, because they are the ones getting the calls from the folks that have needs. And I know they've come to me several times asking for clarification of what the ordinance means. So if you guys are okay with that,
I'm certainly okay with that.
I
Yeah,
can
I'm
ask
okay
their
with
advice on that, and then maybe we can put something together. And then we can run it by them and use your expertise saying, oh, that wording won't work because of X.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you guys do, what you encounter.
Yeah, I don't wanna tweak it and then have you guys still be handcuffed.
We could run
I
it
think,
by them.
I think another request would be like with those other 3 counties we talked about, a lot of times we fill the application out for the family, with the family, and we work with the county directly, because, you know, we're at their mercy to actually go and fill out the application, and, you know.
So basically, you guys, once
We would be-
Matura says yes, they're needy, then the person works directly to you guys and then us. Because right now, we've contracted with Matura to do our general assistance needs. So it always, because they make sure that people meet all the other options available before they come to the county for funds. So,
Heather, why don't you discuss it at your Matura meetings?
Okay.
And then you can have somebody from Matura reach out to Tom. or
And they
somebody
could
at the
rewrite
funeral
this
and
for us.
Suggest some tweaks to it.
yeah, if you are okay with that, working
Yeah.
with Matura.
And then
Because
we
they-
could
we
run
would
it
be-
by them.
We would be happy to work with them,
Yes.
and so that it's not, you know, like I said, that the families, you know, we're kind of waiting for them to go do it, and it's not always a top priority, or,
Well, not at that time, it's not.
yeah.
You could ask Mature if they would work, that would be
I'm
great.
sure
if
they
could work
would.
with
If
you.
you're okay with that, do you gentlemen have cards I could give our Matura director?
Do you exhaust Veterans Affairs? Of course you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So is
We,
that
we,
it?
we can just call it from home to somebody's house.
Yeah.
So I'll work on that and we'll circle back with you guys.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Board member reports, anyone have anything they wish to report on this?
Budgets, yeah.
That's nothing new, we've all been in on that.
I'm working on a CCOG project board meeting, and I can request she comes to meeting and tells you what you get from them. Sunshine Club reached out to me and asked if they could plant the roses around the flagpole, and I said, you can plant your little hearts away. You can plant, yeah, keep planting. So they'll do that on their own, and I said I will bring it out, but I'm sure you don't care if they plant flowers. So that's,
They take care of them.
Yeah.
yeah, they do. So,
Roses are persnickety. Roses are persnickety.
they were nice around there, though. We kind of ruined them. Okay, and that's about all I've done.
Heather?
Let's see, we had a safety committee meeting, budget meetings, of course, construction meetings, Maturas tonight. We had our benefits meeting, which we were all at. I went to the Madison County Development Board new director meet and greet. You were there.
Before one of the blizzards came.
Before one of the blizzards came, yes. We were supposed to have our comprehensive planning committee meeting last night. I made the judgment call to reschedule it because I was worried about weather, especially since the consultant was driving from Nebraska. I was worried about him getting home. So we're gonna reschedule it, and which several of our members were okay with because they still have challenges out there in the country. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, maybe we should do this during the courthouse meeting, but anyway, right after our first snow, before the blizzard, this first snow, I noticed that on our new sidewalk, there is about a 2-inch to 3-inch scratch or whatever that's gone down to the aggregate, and it scraped several of the new, in addition to the new cement, it scraped the little, the ADA pads with the little things, so it just basically scraped all those off. It looked like a maintainer or a blade went too high on the sidewalk, and it's around the entire sidewalk. You don't see it now, obviously, but after the second snow, but I asked Chip if it was the company that we contracted with, and he said no, it was city equipment. So once the snow is removed, I did take pictures, so I can send those to you if you guys wanna know, but it looks really bad. So I'm not sure how we wanna address it, but I wanted to bring it to your attention at a meeting.
You can't win. You leave the snow piled up there, and the city piled all the snow on our sidewalk, they move it and they do this. I mean,
Well, the thing is that the person we contracted with uses machinery that wouldn't scrape it, and I would have hoped that the city would have, plowed up to the curb and not on our sidewalk.
up to the curb, it ends up on the sidewalk, and so then,
So-
and then those panels are, don't get me started on that, those are the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Those
because
are-
their intention is good, but they give you a product that's not durable, and they bust out. A few years ago, we had to put asphalt in the one because it was completely.
And every year they break out. I mean, I
Right,
don't know
but
how they
these
don't.
are brand new,
I
and
think
they
what we-
weren't on the street, and I just wanted to bring it up to your attention because, we're gonna have to address it in the spring.
We'll look at it when the snow melts, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, so that's all I have.
Okay. Had an aging resource meeting, nothing too noteworthy out of there, other than they're reducing funding, so a lot of the aid they're giving out is having to be curtailed because the resources coming in from the feds is less. I did want to publicly thank Mike and Secondary Roads for doing an outstanding job this last,
Yes.
however many days it was worst snow that I can remember in recent years by any means. So thank you for all your efforts on that, and
Yeah, all the
I hope you get a little break.
Yeah, all the employees did a fantastic job in pulling together the team to try to get roads opened.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but they're open.
And believe it or not, there were more members of the public grateful than not grateful. So
Most
just note
people
that.
understood. Anytime I saw anything on social media or someone complained, they usually got thrown under the bus.
I threw somebody under the bus because I watched them out my window getting stuck 3 times. You think after the first I'd give it up. 3 times, left the vehicle in the road. So,
And then when the
and
county gets
it's-
there,
It
it's,
makes it very hard to do their job.
It was,
very challenging.
and why, I wonder why they didn't
I
turn
think
around and
that
go
was
off
a
the Warren
universal
County side.
problem.
It's just weird going down Earl Road and not having any ditches,
Yeah.
because they're full to the brim.
The forecast looks good to settle some of that down before our next snow event.
Which is kind of, if you go off the road, at least you hit off a big
Yeah.
snowbank, off the edge.
Hopefully you don't sink though.
Well, you'd probably be stuck there, and nobody find you.
Yeah.
All right. Under new business, we kind of discussed this during our study session about using a third party to help facilitate ordinance reviews, and I guess I misunderstood what Aaron was alluding to. It's more of a cleanup codification of them. So we'll continue to discuss that when we reconvene for budgets, whether it's
Okay.
something we should do before we do the overhaul or after the overhaul, but probably something that merits a look. Anything else on that?
And that goes to, maybe you can clarify what your question is on that, but I guess once we're all done, who's responsible for maintaining that?
Once we clean it up, we'll figure it out.
Okay,
But I think it logically falls underneath our
so,
office.
board clerk,
Probably.
okay.
That's what
It does.
I gleaned from the emails.
Just read it this morning.
Okay.
Courthouse exterior project, looks like the openers were installed, whether they're operated.
I've been
operational
trying,
or not, I don't know.
Rick and I have been playing phone tag for days. I think we need to have another meeting to make sure he's present, and I think our punch list, we need to go around with them. There's a lot of things. The carpet in the CICS office is absolutely destroyed. That was brand new carpet.
Yes.
They need to fix that.
They didn't really have very good due diligence in protecting carpets anywhere.
They didn't protect anything, because when they started in that room, Chip and I dragged out all the plastic, and I did go in that room, and they had filthy muddy boots, and this is what I said: if you don't clean this up, I'll beat you with a stick. And because it was terrible, mud everywhere. They had sawdust on all that new equipment, and so that was
Which damages
so
equipment.
disgraceful. And they didn't clean it, they kind of vacuumed it, but it's really destroyed, and it was new carpet.
Diane, what I'd like to do before we schedule the courthouse meeting again, is have you and Rick meet and knock out as much of this as you can, so we're not having the same meeting over and over.
So you want Rick and I and Chip to do a punch list?
I would like you to whittle that down so that if we have another meeting, it's not to,
Would the board be open to having another member go with Diane, to help facilitate that and encourage continued?
I think that would be appropriate after our next meeting, but let's get this
Okay.
cleaned up enough so that our next meeting is a little more productive than our last meeting.
And then
was.
I'll ask him to update that punch list. I already have. I don't think he's understanding what we want.
I don't understand why it's so hard for me to understand.
Now, why don't you work with Rick and get back to us?
It's gotta be, some of this has to be rectified. If you break something, fix it.
All right, comp plan revision, sound like you postponed the meeting on that.
Right, and I sent you guys the final chapters for your review. I don't know if you've had a chance to do that. Luckily, they're shorter than all the other ones you had to review.
I have a few.
Okay. Did you wanna
I'll send it to you.
resend it to me? Because what I'd like to do when we reschedule it is have your input on those and then the input from the rest of the committee members and just sit down and really knock things out. Because I think we're on the home stretch now, so.
On some of this, like when you mentioned Tom Leonard's name, could you just mention his title so it isn't so dated?
Okay.
That would be one suggestion. And then I think on page 11, chapter 2, or section 2, you have, it's somewhere you don't need to make your fun. It just reads wrong.
What?
I'll send them to you.
Yeah, would you?
It's just a few things. And I did talk to Steve quite a bit. On one, I don't think you have anything about you have protecting streams and creeks, but you don't have waterways. And we're losing a lot of waterways when we have, some of this building, and that is a huge, or people that build structures in waterways, not realizing.
Would you both mind doing what you did on the previous chapters? Give me the hard copy with your little
Do you want to print it out right
recommendations
on?
or tabs, and then I can have it as hard copy. Would you be okay with that?
Sure. Do you want us to print it and write it on the?
Just print it, either write it on, or if you want to do it as a post-it note, however it works for you, because then I can have it. And, that these are your, this is the supervisor's requested
I will work on it tomorrow
changes.
morning. Thanks.
Okay, I already have quite a bit.
Okay. Ordinance review and update, we talked about that in a couple different ways, shapes, and forms, and it sounds like the general systems might be our first
You gotta fix that.
one, which wasn't really why this is on here, but
Well, hopefully they'll have some ideas, on how to improve it, and then we can work. And do we want to just talk about the funeral part, or do we want to just have them look over the whole thing?
might as well look at it if you're gonna have to do it
Okay.
anyway. I don't know that, well, we did a pretty major overhaul of it, and I think it's not in too bad a shape, but
Okay.
our purpose isn't to handcuff people, so.
No.
Okay.
it's not.
Okay.
All right, anything else on that? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Heather, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?